My mother embarrassed me in front of everyone. Do you even feel worth anything? I still remember the exact moment my life split into two parts, before that sentence and after. It was a warm Saturday evening in early June, the kind where the sun lingers just a little longer over suburban rooftops. Our backyard was full of people, neighbors, my mom's coworkers, her friends from yoga class. Laughter floated in the air, mixed with the smell of grilled food and freshly cut grass. And me, I stood near the patio door, holding a tray of drinks like I was part of the furniture. "Emma, don't just stand there," my mother called out sharply. "Go offer the drinks properly. At least pretend to be useful." A few people chuckled. I forced a smile. This wasn't new. My mom, Diane Carter, had a way of turning every small moment into a performance, and I was always the punchline. But that night, she went further. One of her coworkers, Mrs. Langford, asked casually, "So, Emma, what are your plans after graduation?" I opened my mouth, my heart already racing. I had plans, big ones. I just hadn't told my mom yet. "She doesn't have any," my mother cut in, laughing lightly as if it was a harmless joke. "She's still figuring out how to be, well, anything." The group laughed politely. My face burned. "I'm applying to," I tried again. And that's when she said it, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Tell me, daughter," she said, tilting her head with that familiar smile. "How useless do you feel?" The laughter stopped. For a second, everything went silent. And in that silence, something inside me broke. Before that night, people always think revenge starts with anger. It doesn't. It starts with pain that sits quietly, growing heavier each day. My mother wasn't always like that. At least, that's what I used to tell myself. But looking back, maybe she was. She had high standards. Perfect grades, perfect manners, perfect image. And I never quite fit into her definition of perfect. If I got a 92, she asked where the other 8 points went. If I cleaned the house, she pointed out what I missed. If I stayed quiet, she called me lazy. If I spoke up, she called me disrespectful. And slowly, over the years, I started believing her, that I wasn't enough, that I never would be the turning point. That night, after everyone left, I went straight to my room. I didn't cry. That surprised me. Instead, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, replaying her words over and over again. "Useless, do you feel?" I whispered it out loud. And for the first time, instead of agreeing with it, I questioned it. Was I actually useless? No. I had been working part-time for the past year, saving money. I had secretly applied to a design program in New York, one of the best in the country. And just 2 days before that party, I got accepted. Not just accepted. A full scholarship. I hadn't told her yet because I was scared she'd dismiss it like everything else. But now I knew something. I didn't need her approval. The plan revenge for me wasn't about yelling or fighting. It was about proving her wrong in the most undeniable way possible. The next morning, I acted normal. I made breakfast, cleaned up, even smiled when she spoke. She didn't notice anything different. That was the point. Over the next few weeks, I quietly prepared. I accepted the scholarship, found a small student apartment in New York, packed my things little by little, only what mattered. And then one afternoon, I printed something out, a copy of my acceptance letter, at the top in bold. "Congratulations, Emma Carter. Full scholarship awarded." I placed it in an envelope and wrote on the front, "For Mom, the goodbye she did expect the day I left. She wasn't home." Fitting, right? I stood in the living room for a moment, looking around at the place that never really felt like mine. Then I placed the envelope on the kitchen counter, right where she'd see it. No dramatic goodbye, no argument, just silence. And I walked out. New York. New York wasn't easy. It was loud, fast, overwhelming. But for the first time in my life, I felt free. No one knew me as the useless daughter. No one expected me to fail. And slowly, piece by piece, I started building something new. I worked harder than I ever had before. Late nights, early mornings, design projects, internships, networking. Every success felt like a quiet answer to her words. Every step forward, proof. The moment everything changed 3 years later, I stood in a glass-walled office overlooking Manhattan. My designs were featured in a major campaign. My name was being recognized. And then one day I got an email from her. Subject: "Emma. Hi. How are you?" Just my name. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. "People have been telling me about your work. I didn't realize you were doing all this. I suppose I underestimated you." I let out a small laugh. Underestimated, that was one way to put it. The email ended with, "I'd like to talk, call me." I didn't reply immediately, because for the first time, I had the power to choose the real revenge. A week later, I finally responded, not with anger, not with bitterness. Just one simple message: "I don't feel useless anymore." That was it. No explanation, no argument, because the truth is the best revenge wasn't proving her wrong to her face. It was building a life where her opinion didn't define me anymore. I didn't expect her to reply. Honestly, a part of me thought she wouldn't. But 3 hours later, my phone buzzed. Mom, we need to talk properly. I'm coming to New York. I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen. Same tone, same control. Like she still thought she could just step into my life whenever she wanted. For a moment, the old feeling came back. That tight pressure in my chest, the voice in my head telling me to obey, to fix things, to make her happy. But then I looked around my apartment, my work desk covered in sketches, the city outside my window that I had built a life in on my own. And just like that feeling disappeared. She came anyway. I never replied. But 3 days later, she showed up. Of course she did. I got a call from the front desk of my building. There's a Diane Carter here asking for you. For a second, I considered saying no, but I didn't, not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted closure. Send her up, I said calmly. The face-to-face when I opened the door, she looked different, not weaker, but quieter, less certain. She stepped inside, her eyes scanning the apartment, the modern furniture, the framed designs on the wall, the life I had built without her. You did all this? She asked. Yes. No hesitation, no apology, just the truth. She nodded slowly, like she was trying to process something she didn't understand. We sat across from each other. For a moment, neither of us spoke, and then she said it. I didn't think you'd actually make it. I almost laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. That's the problem, I replied. You never thought I could. The truth finally comes out, she sighed, looking down at her hands. I pushed you because I didn't want you to fail. No, I said quietly. You pushed me by making me feel like I already had. That hit, I could see it in her face. For the first time in my life, she didn't have a comeback. The moment she realized, her eyes moved around the room again, landing on a framed magazine feature on the wall, my name printed clearly. Emma Carter, the designer redefining modern visual identity. Famous. She asked softly. Not really, I said, but I'm successful, was a difference. And for the first time, she understood it, the apology I never expected. I was wrong, she said, just like that, simple, no excuses this time. I thought if I was hard on you, you'd become stronger, but I didn't realize I was the one breaking you. I stayed silent because apologies don't erase the past, they just acknowledge it. I embarrassed you, she continued. That night, I shouldn't have said those things. I remembered it instantly, the laughter, the silence, her voice cutting through everything. Useless, do you feel? I looked her straight in the eyes. I remember every word. She nodded. I figured you would. The power shift for so long, I had imagined this moment differently. I thought I'd yell or cry or finally say everything I had kept inside for years. But standing there, I felt calm because I didn't need her to understand me anymore. I already understood myself. My answer, you asked me something that night, I said. She looked up, confused. Useless, do you feel? I repeated. Her expression changed slowly, carefully. I don't feel useless anymore. The words were steady, certain, final. What happens next? She stayed for a little while longer. We talked, not like mother and daughter, more like two people trying to rebuild something from scratch. Before she left, she paused at the door. Proud of you, she said. I didn't answer right away because those words. They used to mean everything to me. Now they were just words. I know, I said finally, not because she said it, but because I believed it. The real ending after she left, I stood by the window, watching the city lights flicker to life. 3 years ago, I walked out of her house with nothing but a bag and a silent promise to myself. Now, I had everything I needed, not because someone gave it to me, but because I built it, piece by piece, failure by failure, step by step. Final line she once asked me in front of everyone. How useless do you feel? Now, if anyone ever asked me that again, I'd just smile and say, not at all.